Roll call,
600.
please.
I did have 3 with my first wife and
No,
then
we added some.
got one in a marriage and then had
Angel?
2, so now it's 6 here.
Here, he's here.
We're talking.
Gershenson?
Angel, say here. I said for you. Oh.
Gershenson?
Here.
Taylor?
She's here.
She'll be joining us shortly.
Yeah.
Erickson Galt?
Here.
Nelson is absent with notice. Cavell should be joining us shortly. Joliet?
Here.
Loops?
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. Please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is approving the minutes from April 2nd. Is there anyone who, I have a motion by Commissioner Gingell, support from Commissioner Powell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Our next item is approving the agenda. This agenda started its life out with an item from the prosecutor's office that has been moved to our next meeting. So looking for a motion to approve the agenda as it's listed now. I have a motion by Commissioner Galt, support from Commissioner Powell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That our agenda is approved. We've arrived at our first public comment of the day. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment for items on the agenda? Seeing none, our first public comment is closed. Under communications, we have 3 items. The first is our Oakland County Youth Assistance ARPA Programming Quarterly Report. The second is the quarterly report from Haven. And the third is the intake and disposition report from our animal shelter. Are there any questions on the items under communications? Do you want to prompt the vote or a
You
roll
do
call?
have voice.
All right, all in favor of approving communications, say aye.
We do need a motion in second though.
Oh, didn't we have one? Oh, move. We have a motion by Commissioner Galt, support from Commissioner Joliet. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our communications are approved. We move to a presentation. This is a presentation on the Oakland County Shore Pilot Program by Oakland Livingston Human Services Agency. So we have people online for our presentation. Who do we have? We have Heather Ziegler and Marie Behagan.
Verheyen.
All right, so thank you, welcome.
Thank you. We're very happy to be here. We want to thank the Board of Commissioners for the opportunity to do this project. We're very excited about it. Since the contract was signed, we have completed our toolkit and the mini grant application, which were sent to you for distribution. We have the RFP that we created. We worked with Shane Beese from Oakland County to create the funding formula for the project. And Daryl DeMar sent it out last week to all of the communities in Oakland County. We've had some people communicating with us already. The City of Ferndale has submitted their application for the funding. That came in last week. And then I've had inquiries from Oxford Township, Hazel Park, and Madison Heights. And I'm available to answer questions from the different communities. And then I'm working with Shane on what reporting that he would like for the quarterly reporting programmatics. And we're finalizing that. Heather is working with Brad to finalize the contracts that we'll be sending out to the communities. The first round will have applications due by the end of May, but applications can be sent in earlier. And we're encouraging the communities that have a plan in place to submit them earlier. Our goal is to get contracts out to each community within 30 days of their applications. And we do want to encourage the commissioners to please, go back to your local communities and ask if the people have received the information from Daryl DeMar. And if they want us to send it out again, you can send us their email. We'll get the information out to them. We have a landing page on our website that people can access to download all of the materials. And we're, starting our advertising of the project to the different communities. And we welcome your assistance with that. And Heather and I welcome any questions that you might have.
Marie, would you give a brief overview on the scope of services that we're offering? And the second piece, I'd be interested in knowing what department in the cities or townships the applications went to.
They went to the Community Development Block Grant contacts, because that's where that was one way we knew we could reach all of the cities, villages, and townships. The funding is for helping the communities, the CVTs, to create their own chore programs for lawn mowing, snow removal, bush trimming, gutter cleaning, yard cleanup. And then since we are hoping that people use CDBG funds to continue the projects, once that they know that they are successful, then we also had an inquiry about minor home repairs. And since that is a CDBG approved activity, we said that we're open to using these funds for that as well. So we're trying to be as open-minded as possible to try to have positive impacts on the seniors' lives in Oakland County.
Thank you.
Okay, so just one, and thank you, maybe I should have spoken before. I just want to remind all commissioners that OLSHA is talking about chore program that was initially included in $8.5 million senior initiative, ARPA initiatives, and they were kind enough to work with Board of Commissioners to implement the chore program, the $3 million that was appropriated for that purpose. As you might remember, in the past, Oakland County had a county-wide chore program that wasn't sustainable or sufficient enough. Then OLSHA came up with the fantastic idea, instead of creating the county-wide, they're going to develop a toolkit for every CVT that is interested in doing so, for them to utilize that mini grants from ARPA funding, and amazingly also giving them a tool that for the sustainability purpose, they mimic the CBDG chore requirements, that if the local communities want to, they can follow in perpetuity in the future.
Commissioner Gershenson?
Thank you, Barbara, for giving a little bit of that
Yes.
history, because this is a long time coming, and I really want to thank Marie and Heather for all your work and whoever else you worked on, because we were really stumped. In the senior blueprint that went out, the number one thing that was requested was chore services. And our contract, our previous experience with OLSHA just wasn't working right. So they came up with this great idea to, instead of us, we actually talked about the county taking over chore services, and that didn't go very far. So the fact that they're giving it to the individual communities was a brilliant idea, and they've made this great toolkit for our communities. So I would like you to send me the mailing, so that if I'm going to send it out to anybody, I have everything. Maybe others need to.
We can definitely do that. We just, if they could just send us the emails, or we could just send the whole packet to Barbara.
Yeah.
To
So
send out to
as of
everyone.
now, it's attached in their presentation, so you have everything. So those two
But
documents.
I need to be able to send it out, so I want it clean.
So separate email
what I
just to
mean?
us.
Okay, I can send
Yeah.
you the email. Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Marie, maybe the same email you sent to Daryl originally would be a good email to get to Barb.
Okay, I can do that. And it has the toolkit and it has the links to our landing page. And from our landing page, you can download everything.
Great,
And
thank
then
you.
the applications.
Commissioner Powell?
So the questions I have is there any additional assistance for communities that may kick back who can't implement this? And may need some assistance moving forward. Is there any funding or anything that they can kind of tap into, or is this just totally onus on the communities?
Well, part of the grant to OLSA is for us to provide technical assistance both before they apply and then after they apply. And we can help them along the way to help them develop the project. And then they also have the option to separately designate 15% of the funds if they want us to do the enrollment and all of the management of the clients coming in and out of the program.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then my second question is Area Aging 1B, are they doing anything with your programming still? Because that was like the referral hub for us they was kind of serving as that referral hub to help any of the Oakland County residents. So now that you all have implemented this, are they still in place or no?
Well, Ageways still has funding for senior services, but at this point, they do not have any contractor for Oakland County to provide chore services through the Ageways funding.
Oh, wow.
They have
Their new name is Ageways. If people
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I've heard that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, for the same reason, we decided not to apply. Nobody else will apply either because it's just the way it's set up is not feasible. So that they're just not able to find anybody to do it.
Okay.
They keep trying.
And then I think you may mention which cities have signed up so far with you all?
Well, the city of Ferndale has submitted an application.
Okay, that's the only one?
That's the only one that we've received. The information went out last week and they sent it to us by the 12th.
Okay, great.
They all sent the email on the 11th. We had actually sent out to Oak Park and Ferndale because they were our partners with the pilot. We sent them out on Monday. So they had it a few days before the others. But I've had inquiry calls from Oxford Township and then emails from Hazel Park and Madison Heights. They're starting their research for the project, and they're in communication with me. But those four cities are the four that have four communities are the four that have reached out so far.
Okay, well, I'm going to strongly encourage the city of Pontiac to jump on this, but I don't know where that's at right now. I'll be back there in a week, but I'll be in touch with their leadership now to see where this is at. Thank you.
And if they need more time, we have it set up where we have a first round of funding applications for people that are ready to go and know they want to do it. So by May 30th, we want them to get up and going for the summer. But then we also have a second round of applications where communities have the same opportunity to request the same amount of funds that's going to be due in the early fall. So if they're not ready to make their decision by the end of May, all is not lost. They still have until they can apply during round 2.
I'm going to be a little aggressive on this one, so we just going to see, because I know a lot of residents in that community, at least Pontiac, needs a lot of assistance in this area. So it'll be very, very beneficial for them to jump on. But I'm not the one that can call the shots, but I can encourage it. So thank you.
Yes. And just stress that we are there to help all along the way in their development process. We are there that's part of what we're here for.
Good.
And one further comment, when I was talking to Daryl DeMar, once he sent it out, he got some questions from some communities, and he had a conversation with Pontiac, with his contacts in Pontiac, and he was going to follow up with them to encourage them strongly to apply.
Yeah, they're just having some transition in that office that y'all sent that document to. So I don't know where things are, so I just got to make sure we handle it tangibly and get it done. That's all. So I'm gonna just babysit it.
No, that sounds great. We encourage all of you to do that with your communities and to just really get the information out there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Erickson Galt.
Thank you, Chair. How does this work with communities that already have an established program? I'm thinking of my home city of Troy that has its own program. They actually use the community block grant funds for a lawn care and snow removal and so forth. Is there going to be any change? Are they going to have to alter their program, or can they just?
They can be, basically, we believe these funds can be used to enhance their program, to do services that they have not been able to currently do, or to, expand it to more people than they currently are able to serve.
That is.
And they just,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, they might just need to make sure they advertise that, limit for a limited time period, they can do more, or they can scale up, but they might have to kind of make it clear that that's gonna end during 2026, if they already have a full-fledged program going, that they're gonna continue with CDBG.
Well, I thank you for doing this. It is seniors wanting to have a level of independence and being able to age in place is so important. And having these kind of supports, I can see why this was the top requested service to use this funds for. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Gensel.
Yeah, just a quick question. So just to confirm, so this is available to all local municipalities, townships, village, cities, et cetera. And is there any allocation of the dollars? So if I were to talk to Orion Township, is there an allocation amount for that municipality in total? And okay, so I'd love to get that amount. I figured it wasn't all in the bucket. It was just first come, first serve. I figured there's probably a formula.
Exactly.
Is there a chart in here? I was looking for it. I didn't see it. So let me go back.
It's in the RFP at the very end. It's the second to last page of the RFP. There's a chart.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, so it is an ingenious way to provide services using the money we have, so we appreciate what you've done for this. Thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second. We can receive and file
I
the
don't
information.
think we did the motion in second yet, but yes, we can receive and file it.
Thank you. A motion by Commissioner Ann Erickson Galt, support from Commissioner Taylor. And all in favor to receive and file the presentation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For having us.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Circuit Court recommendations. The first is an application to the State Court Administrative Office for the fiscal year 2024 Child and Parent Legal Representation Grant. The second is a request to transfer a youth and family casework supervisor and technical office specialist from the adult treatment grant to the child care fund. And the last item is another request to transfer a youth and family casework 2 position from the general fund to the child care fund. And we have Chris, we need a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Powell, support from Commissioner Joliet, and we have Chris here to speak to this.
Hi, everyone.
This item.
So as part of juvenile justice reform, I think the last time I was here, we talked about the fact that casework is going to look a little different, right? We're going to have more people in the field. We're going to be shifting our focus to in-home care, really trying to maximize that ability to help youth and families. As part of that, and we talked about last time with the change in the ATC grant, bringing back that old position to run ATC grant. For those of you that have been here a long time, Ellen Zender used to be in that position. We're bringing back that position, not Ellen. New person to run that program. We will have 2 individuals that have been split between juvenile and adult, and they're going to be back in juvenile. Nate Gilling and Candace Serena are in those positions. Those positions will be back to being focused on the juvenile specialty treatment programs and the new programs that you approved positions for at my last visit out of Child Care Fund, which will be our domestic violence program for youth and the intake program for youth, and then adding that additional caseworker for juvenile mental health. So Nate will be supervising those staff. And Candace will be gathering information that's required under juvenile justice initiatives and working in our new client management system youth center. So these positions, I feel it's really budget friendly because they are reimbursed from Child Care Fund at 75%. So we are losing the 100% funding from ATC, but only 25% of that. And that last agenda item with that caseworker, this was a position that was fully funded out of the general fund, which will now be 75% funded out of Child Care Fund. So that'll offset the difference of that 25% in Nate and Candace. So I think this is really a budget-friendly decision and gets us a little more focus on the youth and families that we serve.
Thank you. Matt, I do think in-home care is so important. Puts all the pieces of the puzzle together to build a foundation of services and preventative and treatment services. So thank you. Commissioner Powell?
So, for example, is the family in-home care services for individuals who are in juvenile, probably be released and going home, or that's one case. And then the second case is kids that's awarded to the state, housed in juvenile, but somehow, because I found out that we have a state shortage in housing juvenile individuals housed in our juvenile system right now, to where we can't give them the treatment that they need. I mean, we're doing the best that we can, but they need to be shifted to a therapy place or something for additional stuff, but they're being housed in our juvenile, not getting that extra treatment. So is this to kind of help with that, or that's something totally different?
Well, they're not totally different, but it is a little different. You're right, 100% right. There is a shortage of placement facilities.
Thank you, yes.
You know, during COVID, we saw a lot of places close their doors. We also saw, just a worker shortage, right? So some places couldn't staff the facilities. We've seen a lot of facilities close, and for the first time, we are having to, we're having to send kids out of state for placement. We're also have kids that are waiting for placement. So you are right, there is a shortage statewide. But part of the juvenile justice initiatives are asking the courts and everyone in juvenile justice to focus more on in-home care for kids and less on residential placement. We've actually seen residential placements go up from where it was a couple $100 a day for a child in residential placement. I just signed off on a bill that was $939 a day for a child in residential placement. So residential placement is continuing to climb, and you'll hear more about that when we come back with our budget discussions, right? But it has become very expensive to try and place a child as well. Our focus with these programs, though, that we're talking about are for kids that maybe have come in contact or under the supervision of the court, and we are trying to treat them while leaving them in-home. That can include therapy, that can include, intensive casework, that could include a specialty court like the juvenile mental health court to try and treat what the root of the problem is. We're hopeful that that will help the kids the best way that we can.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, a constituent reached out to me. They have a child there, and they brought that to my attention. But
Yeah.
I want to thank our staff because they were very transparent. Thank you for being transparent about that situation. But it's when they're awarded to the state, things are a little bit different than what our staff can kind of get involved. So they explained that. But thank you. At least my colleagues know, yes, that's a problem in our state right now.
We're working with the state to try and get them to cover like programs where they're under house arrest, right? We're trying to get the state to work with cover because the state doesn't really reimburse for those types of programs. So we are for their state wards, and we're working with them on that. I hope to see a memo come from DHHS any day that will address that.
I hope so too. Maybe that'll help the young lady. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? And it sounds like you covered the 3 items under the circuit court. Is there something else you want to say about the other items?
I feel like I covered 2 of them, right? The position moves, but the CPLR grant, you've heard me talk about the fact that the MIDC rates in the state have made it a challenge to find attorneys for juvenile and for probate as well, but for others that aren't criminal casework. The state MIDC program is great. I'm so happy that they're compensating attorneys at valuing their service. But we aren't seeing that funding available, that same level of funding available for juvenile defense, for representation under probate matters and other things like that. So the CPLR grant, we are applying for mid-year to try and add some additional services that we can offer. For instance, help youth and families when there might be an issue with school, there might be an issue with permanency in their housing, there might be an issue with immigration. There might be, a number of issues that the attorney could also help address for that family that maybe has been a barrier to getting that child to move forward. And the CPLR grant is going to help us do that. It will pay up to 25% just for a select amount of cases. They have to be children that have been removed from the home as part of a abuse and neglect. So, but we'll be able to provide some additional services and receive some additional compensation to cover those attorneys. We're looking everywhere we can to try and find sources of funding to match those MIDC rates.
Thank you. Any comments or questions about these three items? All right, would you prompt the vote?
And just as another matter, if anyone is interested in learning more about the court and the challenges that we face, and I say this every time, but if you're interested in learning more about any of the things that we're talking about here, we would love to have you over, meet with maybe one of our family judges, or meet with, if it's a criminal matter, talk with one of the criminal judges, and just learn more about the programs and the services that we have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Gingell.
Yes.
Gershenson.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
780 days.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. We're moving on to our Sheriff's Office recommendations. There are two items. The first is an application to the Department of Justice, Office of Violence Against Women for the fiscal year 2024 local law enforcement grants for enforcement of cybercrime. And the second is an amendment to the 2024 Automobile Theft Prevention Authority. Who would like to make a motion? A motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Gershenson. And we have our undersheriff and Guy here to address these issues.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the first item is a new funding opportunity that we're applying for the first time, and we're really excited about it. It's actually a partnership that we're proposing between the Sheriff's Office, the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, and Care House. So the funding is, we're asking for $465,132 over the next 3 years. It would start at the end of this year on October 1st of 2024. What we would do is prepare cybercrime educational programs, primarily for youth, talking about the dangers of electronic communication. There would be some specialized training for our folks in our computer crimes unit, and then overtime for undercover operations that would try to apprehend individuals that use the internet to try to victimize underage youth. So primarily the overtime would be around $277,000, training equipment, some translation services, and supplies would be right around $73,000, and then the rest would be a sub-award agreement to Care House for a little over $105,000. And then in the application, there's also a MOU with Care House to provide this program.
I think it's such a needed and valued effort. I know in my social media, I received many emails that are scams, and our younger people might not have the maturity to know which is a scam and which is.
Right.
Well, and who's truthful on the internet, so I think that's partly the education of, hey, you know what, who you're talking to isn't necessarily who you're talking to, so.
Yep, Commissioner Gershenson?
Well, I love the partnership. I'm thrilled that these three agencies, that you're working together. I think that's great. And my son, who's fairly sophisticated and savvy, he got a scam call. And undersheriff was great, cause it was so convincing, I called the undersheriff just to confirm that it was a scam.
Mhm. Right.
And I mean, there's vulnerable populations, obviously youth and seniors, but I think anybody, like you said, anybody can, if it's convincing enough, because there are folks that are that savvy too.
Exactly. Commissioner Erickson Galt?
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned translation. Is there an effort to reach out to communities where English is not the first language? Because I would think that would make them a vulnerable population as well.
I believe so, yes. And so we have those services, you know, we have phone line and we have a whole list working with the court. In the jail all the time, we have to have interpreter services. So they included a portion of that because I'm assuming there would be some victims and possibly trafficking victims that don't speak English as a first language, so.
Absolutely. Or may not speak English at all.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on these items?
Oh, wait. Do you want me to do the second
yes,
item?
I do.
That was the next one's a lot simpler. So the next one is just an amendment to our existing Auto Theft Prevention Authority grant. We're just amending it to add the Township of Waterford. So Waterford would like to add a detective. The total cost, or the grant amendment is for $182,554. And the township, just like the arrangement that we have with the other locals, Waterford would be responsible for their 40% required match.
Perfect. Any questions or comments? All right, would you prompt the vote?
Holly?
Yes.
Angel?
Yes.
Gershenson?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 3 items from Health and Human Services. The first is an amendment to Open Schools Home Visitation Grant. The second is an application to Health and Human Services for fiscal year 2025 lead education and faucet replacement program. And the third is accepting from the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs of the 2024 Michigan Medical Marijuana Operation and Oversight Grant. Who would like to make a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Gingell. And we have Stacy Sledge here to talk about these items.
Good morning. So the first item is the amendment to the Oakland Schools grant or the grant award. This is adding an additional $111,382. This funding will continue to support providing evidence-based model fidelity home visitation nurse family partnerships. The original award was about $40,000, and it now brings the total up to $151,859.
It's so nice to hear an amendment where we receive more money.
Yes.
All right, do you want to talk about the second item?
Yes, the second item is a new grant application, something that the Health Division has not had before. This is an application for the lead education faucet replacement program through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The purpose of this grant is to prevent lead exposure in drinking water for Medicaid enrolled households and children and pregnant persons in the city of Pontiac. We're requesting funding in the amount of $103,636 to support lead education home visits, drinking water filters, plumbing assessments, and assisting families with applying for the MDHHS Lead Safe Home Program. The application does include funding for 2 part-time, non-eligible 1,000-hour public health sanitarians to conduct those home visits and plumbing assessments. These activities will allow Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to install primary drinking water faucets into the homes within the city of Pontiac if their faucet is older than 2014. The program dates are October 1st, 2024 through September 30th of 2025. Some of the expenses that we are requesting in the application are the salary and fringes, mileage, computers, printing, and postage.
Okay, so you're collaborating with other agencies following the assessment and water filters for, would you collaborate for replacement of lead pipes? Is that part of the program or is that a different program?
I have Tony Droughts here who can explain or answer that question for you.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's actually, we're going to be trained by DHHS to do the home visit, the initial home visit and what they're looking for there. It wouldn't be the assessment of the outside plumbing. This is just to replace the primary drinking water faucet in the homes. And these are for folks that have are eligible for Medicaid. And we would get that information of who would be eligible. And if there's children in the home under 6 or an individual that may be pregnant, would be the people that we would work with DHHS, and they have a vendor that would actually do, an external vendor that would do the faucet replacement.
Is there collaboration for the pipes, perhaps another program? Or would you say this home has lead pipes and you need to refer to this agency for that? I know.
WRC is working on that now, and I think they have till January of next year where they're working on service line replacement for lead pipes. And I know Pontiac is one of the communities that they're working with.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Royal Township, they did.
To Commissioner Powell?
So is it safe to say that if somehow that is discovered, you're just saying that referral or that'll be notified to WRC to then try to take care of that home or that resident?
For this program, it would be DHHS, and they're going to help them to apply for the Michigan Safe Home Program, and that faucet would be replaced by one of DHHS's vendors.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right.
The next,
I have one more question for clarity. Are the homes or individuals who will be selected, MDHHS is the ones that's doing this selection of who benefit for this? Is there any other way a constituent could outreach, or no, it doesn't work that way?
No, it's Medicaid eligible, and it's for households that have children under 6 or someone that's pregnant that's currently living in the home.
Okay, so MDA. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, the last item.
the last item is grant acceptance for the 2024 medical marijuana operation and oversight grants. This year, we're receiving $515,261 for the period January 1st, 2004 through September 15th of 2004. This was an increase of $63,209 from last year's award. Of course, the purpose of this grant is to provide funding for education, outreach, and awareness focused on medical marijuana, medical and adult use prevention, and harm reduction efforts. This grant also will allow the continuation of a part-time, non-eligible 1,000-hour public health educator 3 position within our health promotion services unit. And I have Hannah here if you have any questions about this grant.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell does.
I just wanted to ask if at some point we can get a presentation on what has been covered with the past grant. Not to say I just haven't been aware of any of the communications or promotions. Not to say y'all not doing nothing, but I just haven't seen nothing. But it could just be me being busy that I am, but I just wanna know what was conducted, just in case we're even asked. You know, just for our knowledge of what you all have done and probably what communities y'all have faced with in this matter of communication or things like that. So I was just curious if we can eventually get an update from them on the past grant activities that has been done.
And I can forward it to you because the department has submitted their quarterly reports and the final reports. It was included in as a communication items in the page, and so I can pull it out and send it to all
Oh,
of
well,
you.
thank you, see, I oversighted that report, so see, that's what we got our staff for, at least they take care of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding this grant? Regarding any of the other two items? All right, would you prompt the vote?
Erickson Cole.
Yes.
Gingell.
Yes.
Lutz. Oh,
Yes.
you got it. Joliet
Yes.
and Gershenson.
Yes.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great information. Our next items are reports of special committees. The first is the education campaign regarding billboards, and we'll defer to Commissioner Gershenson.
So thank you. So we have a new committee that is focused on safer communities. And this committee has a $15,000 budget allocation. But also, in some of our contracts that are related to school officers, there's an additional surcharge that the schools are gonna be paying, and it'll go into this fund. And this fund is for safer communities. And we have the undersheriff that sits on this committee, and I will be mentioning one of his projects in a minute. But we got a request from several local groups that there are billboards out there that tell you how to store your drugs, how to store your marijuana, how to keep your drugs away from children. But there are no billboards on how to store your guns safely. And now this is a law that you have to store your guns. So we are looking at, well, what would it cost for us to do a billboard? The next day after the committee met, Detroit comes out with their billboard campaign. So the committee is in the process of reaching out to Detroit, see if there's any potential for collaboration. But in the meantime, the billboard was passed with a one-time allotment not to exceed $7,000 for this coming year. So whereas I don't have a definite plan to give you, we're working on it, and I'm sure it's gonna be a matter of a couple weeks before we come up with something.
Thank you. Any questions? Then we need a motion.
I just have one comment.
Sure.
So I think it's a great idea, I support it. Just as it goes forward and you think about that pool of funding that happens from the communities that contract with the sheriff. When we adopted that, there was no restriction that those dollars would go back to the communities that pay into that fund. So hopefully there can just be consideration in where these billboards are placed based on where the funding's actually, like Rochester Hills.
That's a good idea.
Orion Township, although Orion contracts through this Orion Schools contracts to the contract, not direct, so they're not paying the $2 or $3 per student. But we should be mindful of that. Is my
Okay.
item.
That's a good point. Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Joliet. Do you want to prompt the vote for the first item?
Powell.
Yes.
Erickson Cole.
Yes.
Oh, nope, yours came in, I'm sorry. Taylor.
Yes.
Lutz.
Yes.
Gingell.
Yes.
And Gershenson.
Yes.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. That motion carries. Our second item is the gun buyback events. So
Okay.
we talked, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah.
Motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Taylor. So, thank you.
So we have talked about this, is that what you were gonna say? So as you know, we've had 2 gun buybacks that were extremely successful, and the objective of the gun buybacks is to reduce suicide and to lower the incident of children killed by guns, which right now, that's the number one way we're losing our kids. However, it was, we discovered that after the second gun buyback, the guns, after they were tested and everything by our sheriffs, they were sent up to the Michigan State Police and they were selling parts. So this became a national thing. It was in the New York Times. It was on John Daly's show. It became a big thing. And Father Yaw, who we've been working with, the minister at St. David's in Southfield, came up with the idea, well, we're just gonna buy some saws and we're gonna dispose of the guns right there. We're gonna have the gun buyback, we're gonna saw them up in pieces, and artists are gonna get the parts, and they've actually been making artwork. And then there's also a dealer in Pontiac that's interested in helping us get rid of some of the parts. So the first one, it's a pilot project, it's in June, and they requested 10,000 from us. So I'm gonna ask for 5,000 from this committee, and then I'll put in a special projects for the additional 5,000. But I wanted to be sure this worked. He has 6 lined up, and I thought, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's do one at a time, because it sounds interesting, but this money will go towards these special saws that he needs.
Thank you. June 15th is the
June
projected
15th?
date of the next buyback.
It's a Saturday.
Any comments or questions? All right, would you prompt the vote?
Taylor?
Yes.
Yes.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Our last scheduled item is the sheriff's office proposal to conduct follow-ups with parolees that had gun charges. Who would like to make a motion? Have a motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Powell.
Good morning again.
Thank you for staying.
So this is a request for $2,888 from the fund for our fugitive apprehension team to go out and specifically look for and target those people on parole for gun charges that could potentially have guns again that they shouldn't. So this would allow for them to work in overtime detail, working just on that.
We talked about this before at another meeting, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Gensel?
Yeah, I guess just a question. So you said $2,888?
Yes.
Like, that doesn't seem like very much. So is this like you're testing it out and you might come back for more if it's working, or?
Yeah, this is just for 1 8-hour shift that would cover the cost for the 1 sergeant and 6 deputies.
Okay,
To do this.
all right.
Each of them can do 10 to 12 visits, so yeah, it sounds little, but they can accomplish a lot.
Well, because what's the total number of homes they'd be going to?
About 160 is
Right.
what we look at, what we have as of today.
Okay. This doesn't seem like much to me with the 1.3 million people I know. They don't all have gun charges against them. Or at least the chair doesn't, so.
True. I don't have a gun. All right, any other questions? Would you prompt the vote, please?
Gingell,
Yes.
Juliet,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Erickson Dahl,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank the committee, and it's been great working with the sheriff. I look forward to collaborating more.
Absolutely.
All right, we have arrived at our last public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment on anything? All right, public comment is closed, so the Public Health and Safety Committee is adjourned at 11:27. Thank you, everybody.
Good job.